All right, hey, what's up, everyone? It's Michael Boothby going live here in the Authenticity Accelerator group to, yeah, chat about the hero's journey versus the sage's journey. Let me mute my computer. Here we go. And yeah, I'm really excited to present on this today because I've talked a lot about mythology, storytelling and AI, all the stuff that are like the features of my program, the three pillars of my program. But today I really wanted to chat about the tarot, right? The Major Arcana, which tells the story of like the soul's journey through this life. And so all this information that I'm giving you today was kind of in the first lecture that Jacques gave, my teacher at the my retreat in Bali. And so this was kind of the whole framework for his program, and I just thought it was really interesting, and I wanted to share it with you all. So I'm gonna give it a little time just for people to get in. We just started, so yeah, if you're here, feel free to say hi in the chat, and yeah, we'll get started shortly. Hmm. All right, cool. Looks like some people have entered. What's up, everybody? Hey. Um, cool. So I think, let's get started. And yeah, now that I'm training to become, or I'm a breathwork apprentice, I want to start including more breathwork, both with my clients, but also in these videos. I think it's a great way to get grounded, especially we come in and, we're stressed. We have all this other stuff going on. So it's a great way to just kind of focus in on ourselves. And yeah, so before we get started, we're just going to do a little breathwork process. So again, you can just follow me, but we're going to do 20 breaths. And it's going to be one deep breath followed by four short breaths. And we're going to do 4 rounds of that. So hope you're in a comfortable space. You can be sitting down. You don't have to be lying down. Yeah, and you can just follow me. So let's get started. So first, just close your eyes. Take some deep breaths. Deep breath in and out to begin. And one more deep breath in. And hold. And breathe out. Cool. So now you can breathe normally. And yeah, let's get into it. So the hero's journey versus the sage's journey. So if you followed some of my last videos, I talked a little bit about the hero's journey as far as storytelling goes, right? We're all familiar with the hero's journey, I think, in movies, in books, right? I mean, Harry Potter, Star Wars. Star Wars is probably the most prototypical example of a hero's journey, right? Luke Skywalker goes from being a naive farm boy to being an experienced Jedi and taking on the forces of evil and the Death Star, all of that, right? So the characteristics of a hero's journey, right, is the call to adventure, facing challenges, receiving aid, encountering trials, and then achieving victory and returning transformed. So the journey through the Major Arcana goes through kind of a similar phase, right? It's a journey. It's essentially the soul's journey through life. So to get us started, I'm going to just go through the Major Arcana. Again, I don't know how many viewers are familiar with the tarot, so you're getting a free tarot lesson here as well. So right, let's start. So um, we all come into this life as the Fool, right? And so this is kind of before our incarnation. That looks a little better. Before incarnation, it's like the formless, right? So the Fool is depicted here, kind of dancing off the cliff, right? And this is just like that childlike wonder, right? But this is our souls coming in before it really has a body, right? So we all come into the world as the Fool. And then from the Fool, we become the magician, right? So the magician can also be viewed as almost like the Fool in a body, right? Incarnation, right? So here's the magician, right? And he's looking down, and he has all of the elements, right? The fire, earth, air, and water, right? Swords, pentacles, cups, and wands, which are all of the elements that we use, that we're made out of, but that also that we use to create with. So as far as the soul's journey, the magician is almost like birth, right? We come in and we become the magician. Um, from the magician, we go to the high priestess, right? The high priestess represents a strong intuitive connection, kind of like the divine mother. So this is like our connection kind of to the earth and to great spirit, right? And then so again, also, so there's 21 cards in the Major Arcana. So again, it is that 3-act structure, right? From 7 to 14 to 21. So the first 7 cards represent almost like the first stages of life, right? So from the High Priestess, we go to the Empress, right? The Empress represents creativity, fertility, but also like the biological mother. So this would kind of represent the first 7 years of our life, right, where our mother plays an integral role. You know, we're still young and we need to be nurtured, right? So the Empress represents those first 7 years of our life, right? And then we have the Emperor, right? The Emperor, right, which is like the biological father, right? But also logic and responsibility, boundaries, finding our place in the world. So this represents those ages of like 7 to 14. So this is almost like from elementary school to middle school, and we're figuring out who we are, right? And also boundaries, right, with other kids, with other students, teachers, all of that, right? So there's the Emperor. And then we go to the Hierophant, right? So this is almost like ages 14 to 18. And this represents like the mentor, which this is also an interesting card because I think in at least our modern society, I think we're kind of lacking these guides. I think people who are teenagers now, they don't have a Hierophant, right? This is kind of, I mean, the history of it would be more of like an Orthodox teacher, right? Someone like, obviously, if you look at this card, almost like a priest. The Hierophant allows us to see the divine and really sparks us onto our path in life. But again, I think in the modern world, I think we are really lacking guides. You find a lot of teenagers and they're playing video games and on TikTok and scrolling. And so I think we kind of lose this very integral part of almost like that coming of age. And again, I think if we had more guides for, teenagers, maybe perhaps the world would be a little less crazy. But right, so that's the Hierophant, right? So we develop our talents under a guide, usually Orthodox, and then from there we go into the lovers, right? So if you think about like high school, and this is like the first time many of us are finding love, right? And what is love, right? Finding a partner, but it's confronting the other and the self, right? So right when we're in love with someone, when we're in a relationship, right? That's really, they're kind of mirroring ourselves back at us. So, right, the qualities that we love about our partner are the qualities that we love about ourselves. And the qualities that bother us about our partner are the qualities that bother us about ourselves. So, right, so this card's all about understanding love and learning through love. And again, I think in an older time, around this age, right? This would be like 19, I think, maybe to like 21. Without college and all that, like, this is really when you would start coupling up and having kids. Obviously, in the modern world, it's not like that anymore. So, but again, it's an essential stage for every soul to learn through love. And then, okay, so then from there we go to 7. Again, this is the end of like that first cycle, the chariot, right? And the chariot is really like finding our place in the world, right? Like this is us going out and like getting our first job. And right here, obviously, we have like the white horse right here, which is kind of signifies confidence, and the black horse signifies doubt, right? So we're on our way and we're going between that confidence and doubt, but we have to maintain the path, balance, entering adult life. We're not with mom and dad anymore. We have bills to pay. So, right, but we're moving forward with our lives. And then from there, oh, this is a little different order. Yeah, we'll put strength here. Um, we have strength, right? So now we have a job, we're on our way in the world, but strength is all about learning skills, seeing challenges as an opportunity to grow. So right, we might have our job, but that doesn't mean we stop developing. So we have to kind of continue to work on ourselves in order to progress spiritually, right? Because a job is just a job. It's just a way to make money. It doesn't really enrich us or give us more meaning, right? So we move to strength. And then from strength, right, from that phase we go into the hermit, right? And the hermit is all about going within, right, and reflection. So the hierophant is more about that orthodox learning, and the hermit is when we do more of that unorthodox learning, more of that, right, like the spiritual learning, the stuff that they wouldn't tell us in school, the stuff that we kind of had to figure out on our own. And I really, in this card, I really see myself like kind of in my mid to late 20s in Chicago. And that's when I really started getting into spirituality. And a lot of it, again, was on my own. It was really contemplating my life and the deeper meaning of everything, right? So once we start to contemplate that, that prepares us for like the next phase, right? So from the hermit, we go to the wheel of fortune. Let's see. That's a cool card, right? And the Wheel of Fortune is kind of like our Saturn return, which again comes in like our late 20s, early 30s. But this is really very much the spiritual awakening, right? The hand of fate. So we start to have these experiences that kind of wake us up to the true nature of our reality and why we're here, right? Okay, so, and then from there, we go to justice, right? And justice is all about adjusting to circumstances. And again, you almost kind of see the like the is it the like the high priestess again. It's just right. It's this is just coming to terms with the world, right? Justice, right? So adjusting to the circumstances of our life, but kind of starting to see through it all, right? We've gone through the hermit phase, we've had our spiritual awakening, and now we're looking at the world through this almost inspired vision, right? Which prepares us for the next step, which is the hanged man, right? And the hanged man is right. He's not hanging himself. He's preparing, right? As you can see, he's kind of meditating on the branch here, and so now it's like right, we've looked at the world with this new lens. And now the hanged man is preparing to create conscious change in his life, right? He's ready to really walk on that path. So again, this might be someone who's like in their job and they're like, this isn't for me. I want to go be an entrepreneur or I want to go be a performer. And they're making those steps to make that happen, right? This could be like early 30s, probably around my age. This is probably where I was at a few months ago. And then from the hanged man, we go into number 13, death, right? And this card looks really scary, but I promise it's not. Because again, I think death is one of those things, especially in the West, that we kind of fear it, but we don't really understand it. Because all death really is a transformation. And that's what this card is all about, right? So the hanged man is us preparing to transform. And death is us making that transformation. And again, another thing that my teacher Jacques said on the retreat that I thought this was really interesting, that, right? So the Major Arcana is kind of a map of the soul's journey through life. And I think all of us, our souls, we have to progress through this journey if we want to, continue on in the bigger picture. And he said that a lot of people kind of get stuck in this card, right? They don't allow themselves to die while they're alive, right? And so they keep going down a path that's really not meant for them, all right? You stay stuck in a job for like 10, 20 years, right? And how many of us know that person, right? Like who has that midlife crisis. And right, and so it's like it's because they didn't go through that death earlier. So then now they're 50, they're way further along in the path, and now they have this big death, and it's like, oh wow, this is like really transformative, and they divorce their wife and they get a motorcycle and all of that, right? But if we're aware, we can allow ourselves to kind of like right consciously die. We prepare for that death with the hanged man, but then we go and we transform, right? So this again, this usually happens, I think, in the 30s for most people, and then so from death we go to temperance, right? And temperance is all about tempering our worldly and spiritual experience. So, right, you can see in this card, she's pouring the water back into the water. So, right, it's all about refinement. So, right, after the transformation, we become a new person and we have to refine who we are to continue down this path. And so now, once we've made that internal kind of shift, what's next? And this card is another card that looks kind of scary. Is the Devil card, right? And the Devil is all about facing the falsehood, right? So that victim consciousness, the unconscious desires, and then right, he's the false prophet, right? This looks like the CEO of the last company I worked for, right? And there's all the employees just doing their bidding, taking the money, but they're miserable and they're subjected to his crazy world, which I love. I just love this card. I love that he looks like a just like a total greedy CEO. But again, that's what the devil is, right? It's false, right? The devil is a false god, right? And so even the imagery here, it comes from Pan, who's the Greek god. And actually, that imagery of Pan is what became the Christian imagery for the devil that we all now know today, right? So after we face the falsehood, right, we can't really live in that anymore. So then that brings across the tower, right? And so we see here the tower. It's a collapsing of the structure, right? It's uncomfortable, and it's a disruption. And as we can see here, it's normally out of our control. There's normally like an act of God that happens. And again, this collapses our structure because we've realized that the structure that we've built in our life was based off of false. It was a falsehood. It wasn't what we really stood for. And so we have to collapse it so that we can build a new structure. And again, in my life, I think 2019 was like really a tower year for me where I had to move home with my parents. My whole life in Chicago fell apart. My relationship fell apart. But again, all of it was built off of it wasn't my truth. It wasn't a life that really inspired me. So yes, the Tower card is usually it's very uncomfortable to go through, but right that it's clearing the way so that we can build ourselves up for like right that final journey of our spiritual awakening and mastery. So that begins with the star, right? Yeah, I love the flamingo. But right, so the star is kind of like the smallest source of light in the sky. So right, once the tower, we've collapsed the structure. Now we're free to kind of start going down the path, right? So the star signifies truth, hope, and understanding, right? We're beginning to see the light, and walk the path. So then from the star, we go to the moon, right? And so the moon is a little bit bigger light source in the sky than a star, right? And the moon is also represents unconditional love and deeper intuition, our perceptions, right? So in order to continue going on this path, we really have to face our shadows. So the moon can also represent a lot of shadow work. But really getting in touch with our emotions. And I love here, it's like a little crawdad crawling out of the muck towards the light. And at this point in our journey, that's probably how we feel. But we keep going. And from the moon, that leads us to the sun, right? And the sun is like the biggest source of light in the sky. It gives life to us and the whole planet, all of the trees, all of the animals. So the sun at this point it really indicates that we are on our way, right? There's that little child. He's really happy. He looks like he's in Midsummer. I don't know. You saw that movie. That movie was not so bright. It was pretty dark, but it just brought me as like a Norwegian child. Um, yeah, but right. So the sun indicates joy, success, happiness. You know, it's like our identity fully realized. Right now that we've gone through all the falsehood, we can truly shine and be who we're meant to be. Right. So again, this is almost like enlightenment. We're really on our way. So again, this could come for some people. This comes earlier in their 30s, maybe their 40s, maybe their 50s. I mean, this spiritual journey is so different for all of us, right? But then, okay, so we're near the end here of this is again, this is the hero's journey. This is the major arcana, right, in the regular order. So after we have the sun, we have judgment, right, which is a rebirth, right, a miracle, a surprise, an awakening of the dead. That's what's happening here. We see the horns coming down from the heavens and essentially, bringing everyone back to life, right? So this is the second to last card in the major arcana, and it represents like a miracle. It's really like something outside of ourselves, and it's just that further confirmation that we're on the right path, and we're close to achieving mastery, right? And mastery is found in the final card of the major arcana, the world. And right, we see here all of the elements are back, but now instead of the elements like the magician, let me get that right. So we started out, right, we came into this world as the magician, right? And we're looking at all of the tools in front of us, all of the elements. But now at the end with the world, it's like synthesis of the elements. We become the elements. We have mastered them, and we've used them to create the life that we want to live, right? So yeah, synthesis of the elements. So the bull represents earth, pentacles. The angel is air. The eagle is water, and the lion is fire, right? So this is, which is very interesting. I did a reading for this life coach in when I was in Bali, and she right, she's clearly like has her life figured out. She makes good money, and this is the card that actually came. It was her present card in the reading was the world. So I thought that was really interesting. Right, so that is the hero's journey or the pilgrim's journey, right? And so that is kind of the path that we all walk in life, right? That right we go through if we go into the sun and then into the night, right? And so again, we might even go through a few of these cycles in our life, right? This is like those major cycles that we go through of spiritual growth and development, right? So that's the hero's journey. And again, and it goes through, like I said, all these life stages and challenges, guiding us towards wisdom and self-realization. So let's talk about the sage's journey or the magician's journey. And this is kind of the program that Jacques developed for the retreat. And the sage's journey is the opposite, right? It's like, so, right, so here we're the fool, but instead we go backwards through the major arcana. And the way that he, right, talked about this is like, taking the journey backwards through this is the path of the initiate, who inverts the natural order for accelerated awareness and rebirth. So it's like walking home from the pilgrimage, right? So all the pilgrims are going this way, but you're choosing to walk the other way, right? The pilgrim sage has lived the holy city in their heart, and now he's taking it back home with them. So right, like I said, so the hero's journey follows the natural order, going from ignorance to knowledge. But the journey of the sage goes from knowledge to vision. So in this context, vision means being creative in how we see and thus in how we manifest. So in this sense, it's not the vision of worldly eyes, but spiritually inspired eyes. So when we walk the path of the sage, we give more space to learn from and live the archetypes from a place of fullness, as opposed to one of ignorance. And this allows natural healing and living our personal and spiritual potential. So the journey of the sage is about forging a new body and therefore a new life. So this means resetting one's frequency according to an ideal template of personal potential, untouched and unscathed by worldly conditioning. And so the sage's path leads to heaven on earth, right? As opposed to heaven after earth, right? So it's integrating this higher frequency inwardly before we can manifest it out into the world and in this lifetime, instead of having to just go through life and be a victim of circumstance. So, right, so let's go through kind of what that looks like, right? So, again, so we kind of at this point we kind of start and end as the magician, right? We start with the tools and we end with the tools, right? But then in this context, right, we go to the world and judgment, and this is kind of like, wait, right, we want to we want to get that vision for our future, and we want to start with that, right? This is the vision that guides us forward, right? The sage wants to get very clear on his path before walking it, instead of waiting for it to happen. And then from there, right, we go to the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? So this would represent the inner and the outer light that guides us. So we're tapping into this, right? And then from here, we have the tower and the devil, or well technically strength and the devil, right? And this would be breaking free from our life, right? So the sage, right, he's getting rid of his old life, right? The sage gets rid of his old life so that he can be born again and have a new life, right? So yeah, the tower and strength. And then, right, the devil and death, right? This is that fourth step, right? So now we're facing the darkness, right? We're not waiting for this all to be built up and then to face it. Instead, we're choosing to go into the underworld first and to face the darkness. And again, like on our retreat, this would be like a lot of the breath work we did in the middle was, right, working through these challenges. I remember on the third day of the retreat, we did a 3-hour holotropic session where I was so angry. I had all this anger come up that I hadn't processed about just a few people in my life who weren't respecting me. And I found it really difficult. I was like, oh, why is this coming up? But then, like my teacher said, right, anything that comes up during breath work is there to be released, right? So even if you feel bad after, you can feel bad knowing that you're feeling bad and you don't have to go through and live this again. And again, someone on our retreat, Patricia, the organizer, she ended up giving me a massage and helped working all this anger out of my body. But then over the next few days, I really sat with that anger and I realized, oh, I was angry at these other people, but I was really angry at myself because I had allowed them into my life, right? And so these circumstances that I found myself in, I was also a co-creator in. I didn't say no. I didn't say, hey, this is enough, when I could have, right? So again, but having that awareness, now I know that I'll never be um, in that situation again. So, right, going into that underworld, right, facing our darkness. And then in this context, right, we go to the hanged man, right? And the hanged man and the hero's journey is like preparing for this underworld. But in this way, it's exiting the underworld, right? Now we've already faced the devil. We've already faced our own darkness. So now we're kind of preparing for this new life that we've built for ourselves. And then from there, we have, right, so the Wheel of Fortune and Hermit in the context of the sage's journey is, right, this new order established, right? So we have this new life, and we're just kind of like, right, now we're kind of meditating on it, right? This is kind of me after this retreat, I feel, where I was just kind of contemplating, wow, so much has happened. Am I actually different? Am I actually transformed? Am I going to go home and is everything going to be like it was, right? But we're sitting with that, right? And then I've also actually, I mean, the Wheel of Fortune again also represents miracles, and I did have quite a few happen while I was still in Bali. I ended up making a friend who, again, he just like again circumstance. He met me at the airport and saw me with my guitar, and then I ended up staying with him for 2 days, and we wrote a song together and went to the beach, and it was really beautiful. So right, so from there we go to the Chariot and the Lovers, which is all about action and love, right? We're in this new self, we are transformed, so now it's time to take that energy and do something about it and find love. And I mean, I think for me, I really see, like, this is me coming home and again coming live, working on my business, and then just reestablishing my relationship with my girlfriend, which it's just been so wonderful since I've been back. So I'm really feeling both of these cards right now. And then we go to the Hierophant and the Emperor, which are like our masculine powers revisited, right? We're coming back to these powers again to, um, just to not to double check, but to like right. Normally, it's like in the hero's journey, this is us like learning this for the first time, and now it's like we're coming back to this with our new self, with as the sage, so that we can just make sure that we are representing this masculinity in a way that feels good to us. And then, right, and then we go to the priestess and the empress, which again is revisiting the feminine. So again, we're just making sure that we're balanced with the masculine and the feminine. And then we come back as, once again, the magician, right? And we're here with our full powers as a child of the universe, restored. We've worked through all of our conditioning, and we're ready to make a conscious change. And then that leads us to the Fool, which is re-entering the world. It says here post Bali, right? If you're on the retreat, this is all of us flying back to our hometowns with this new energy and this new vitality, ready to, right, take on the world in our own heaven on earth. So that is kind of the hero's journey versus the sage's journey. So again, just some final kind of like thoughts on that, right? So the hero's journey is about transformation through trials, through just like life happening to us, which again it is transformational, and we all walk that path. But the magician's journey is like a little bit of a shortcut, right? It's kind of, and this is what this retreat was for me, right? It's about realizing our potential for influence and creation and embodying that, and then going into the world just with that power. So the hero seeks to find their place through struggle and growth, whereas the magician or the sage works from a position of power to manifest their will. And again, both archetypes offer valuable insights into personal and spiritual growth. So embodying the lessons of strength, mastery, and transformation. So, right, the question is, though, right, it's like, do you want to wait to have all of these lessons happen to you in order to have that spiritual journey? Or do you want to choose to go right into your darkness, face it all, and have that clear vision and then manifest from there, which is what I've chosen. Right, so but again, we can embody both the aspects of the hero and the lessons of the magician. And so recognizing moments to be the heroes in our lives allows us to harness the magician's wisdom for intentional manifestation. But either way you look at these, right, the tarot as a whole is really just a tool to bring awareness to the unconscious so that we can take conscious action in our lives. Because as long as we're just unconscious and we're a victim and life is happening to me and I don't have free will, as long as we're sitting there, we're not gonna, I know people in my life who've been like that, and they are where they've been like 5 years ago, and where they are now, it's the exact same place. So I think if you're in this group, right, like you're in this group the Authenticity Accelerator, to accelerate your growth and accelerate your expression so that we can manifest the life that we want for ourselves, or the business we want for the self, or maybe it's a music career or art, whatever it might be. We're taking our creativity and we want to lean into that and let that carry us. So again, this is all just a holistic view of personal development. At the end of the day, I hope that everyone here can see their challenges as opportunities for growth and manifestation. Instead of these things that just come at us and are really hard and oh, woe is me. So yeah, that's it. That's the hero's journey and the sage's journey. I think, like I said, I think there's value in both. Definitely, this retreat was a sage's journey. I'm really feeling very at peace and very confident in who I am, and especially with this group. I'm starting work this week with my first paid clients through the program, and I'm really excited about that. I have a few more people interested, so I had some calls with them this week, and I really do believe that this program I've created is a sage's journey in its own right, because, I had someone who was interested in the program, and eventually he didn't join because he said, oh, I have the tools. I'm going to work with the tools I have. And I said, okay, good luck with that, but I think that's more of a hero's journey, right? If you're going to work with the tools that you have, then go for it. But clearly, if the tools that you have aren't working, it's going to take you longer to get to where you want to go. So again, I have all of this spiritual knowledge and the storytelling knowledge, and now especially my experience with AI. I really think I'm using AI in very innovative ways. Earlier this morning, I did a writing test for a ghostwriter position for like a millionaire entrepreneur, and I was able to write a newsletter and 5 tweets in under 2 hours for him. And I'm really excited. I mean, again, I hope he hires me. But again, I felt like as I was doing it, I very much felt like a magician, and I want everyone who goes through my program, um, by the end of it, to feel like a magician. Like I'm going to give you the tools to consciously create whatever it is in your life, and to go into the world with confidence and to know who you are on a deep level. Because I think the world needs more magicians now. We need more people going against the grain of everyone else and everyone who's just working a job and stuck in the conditioning. Because I think the more of us who can get out of that conditioning and empower ourselves, we can now become a beacon of light to inspire others to perhaps follow us on our own sage's journey, whatever that may be. So yeah, that's it, guys. I think that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was informative. I hope it was helpful. I also do tarot and mythology readings. So if you're interested in just like a one-off reading, I do paid readings. And it's an absolute pleasure. Everyone who I've done a reading for has gotten a lot of insight from it. But again, also, if you work with me in my program, we start by finding your archetypes in the mythology deck, and then I do a 6 card tarot reading for the 8 weeks of the program, just to see, kind of give you some insight into how it might unfold, what challenges might arise, and then, how we can overcome them. So, again, I'm here, Michael Boothby, your guide in creative liberation, and I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday and a wonderful weekend. Yeah, I'll be back next week with another talk. I don't know. I might do something a little more hands-on. I've been thinking I kind of want to do a like a here, like write an article with me with AI, where I really want to just like take everyone through my process from beginning to end on how I'm writing with AI. So it'll be, you can see my process, but then also you can just copy it. You can just take it and use it for whatever you're doing. So yeah, I'm heartstorming more ways how I can bring value to you guys and teach, but also I want this to be really experiential and valuable, because I know your time is valuable. And so I never want anybody feeling like I'm wasting their time, because I really want all of us to grow and expand so we can go out in the world and do our magic and make money and get support for our creative ideas and just our lives. Just like we're here to have fun, we're here to live in love and joy. And like I said, I think the more people that are really living in this empowered place of love and joy, the more individuals we can get on this vibe, on this frequency, I think this world will begin to transform a lot faster. Right? So I'm here to accelerate your progress, to accelerate the progress of this whole planet, hopefully. And maybe, if we all do this right, we'll have a better world in a few years, in our lifetime, heaven on earth in our lifetime. That's the goal. So cool. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next week. And yeah, take care. See you.